Most jellies solve life using a remarkably efficient strategy. Have no bones, have no plans, float around until something unfortunate happens. Proteus disagrees. On Proteus, jellies have evolved into power plants, sexual deviants, and what appears to be an airborne insurance liability. Today we're examining 4 jelly-like organisms that prove evolution here is not guided by survival, but by increasingly strange dares. First, the jelly ring, a heat-eating jelly donut from the volcanic depths, which is already concerning, not because it lives around hydrothermal vents, but because something in nature looked at an underwater volcano and thought, snack bar. The jelly ring isn't technically a single jelly, it's a colony of tiny cloned animals called zooids, working together as a single organism, a biological life raft, a communal donut, a homeowners association made entirely of mucus. The ring parks itself around hydrothermal vents and feeds on the heat and chemical energy rising from below. When the vent dies, it simply swims away, because apparently even deep-sea pastries understand the housing market. Should we be blurring this? Around its body are flower-like mucus baskets. These pump water and vent fluid through the ring, but can also reverse direction to become swimming structures, meaning the jelly ring moves by turning its own filtration system into emergency propulsion. Elegant, horrifying, moist. Inside the ring circulates hot mineral-rich jelly packed with sugars, oils, starches, and other complex compounds. Scientists call this advanced biochemical processing. Everyone else calls it forbidden syrup. The jelly ring is also strongly bioluminescent. Instead of using nerve cells, its zooids communicate with light, a glowing colonial hive mind responding to stimuli from the abyss, which is beautiful. Until you remember it is a thinking donut wrapped around a volcano, and then, believe it or not, things get weirder. Researchers have observed jelly rings voluntarily ejecting huge quantities of their own jelly into the deep ocean, a process called jellyfall, and a sign for researchers to immediately get out of the water. Nobody knows why. It may be farming, it may be feeding distant relatives, or it may be the most unsettling bake sale in evolutionary history, if the jelly ring is a donut. The surge jelly is a taser with aspirations. Unlike the colonial jelly ring, the surge jelly is a single animal, a surprisingly sophisticated predator equipped with specialized organs, complex tissues, and enough electricity to make every safety inspector within 3 kilometers visibly uncomfortable. Those wing-like fins beneath its body contain electrocytes capable of generating between 400 and 1000 volts.
Seek medical attention.
Enough to stun prey, or immediately promote a researcher to former researcher. Scientists suspect these electrical systems may have evolved for communication before they were adapted into weapons, meaning the species may have accidentally invented language, and then immediately weaponized it. A very Proteus solution. Even more concerning, surge jellies appear capable of learning electrical signals from one another and passing those patterns between generations. Researchers remain uncertain whether this constitutes culture, which is scientific terminology for we've made a shocking discovery. Then we arrive at the BFJ, the big the behemoth finger-legged jelly, a name created by scientists who had clearly stopped fighting back. At first glance, it resembles a giant jellyfish sitting on the seafloor. At second glance, it resembles a giant jelly waiting for something. Most of its body consists of enormous gas bladders. Its eyes can focus through both water and air. Its muscular arms search the seafloor for chemical resources, and much of its behavior suggests it spends long periods preparing for a future stage of life. In other words, the BFJ looks suspiciously unfinished, like evolution hit save draft and swam away. Researchers have even observed specimens feeding on sunlight while resting, not hunting, not moving, just sitting there absorbing energy, like a giant biological phone left on charge, which leads us to a rather disturbing possibility. The Hycean may be what happens next. Imagine if a jelly looked at gravity and filed a formal complaint. Evolution asked a dangerous question: what if squid, but blimp, with questionable engineering decisions? The Hycean fills an enormous mantle with hydrogen gas and simply leaves the ocean. Not metaphorically, physically, the creature flies. Using specialized bacteria, it produces enough lifting gas to drift through the air in search of prey, which means Proteus has somehow evolved a flying squid jelly zeppelin. The Hycean hunts from above, swooping down to seize prey before lifting them clear of the water. A feeding strategy best described as marine abduction. Unfortunately, hydrogen is extremely flammable, meaning every Hycean spends its entire life one spark away from becoming a historical reenactment of the Hindenburg. Because of this, Hyceans are acutely sensitive to electromagnetic activity. During storms, entire schools descend toward the ocean to avoid accidental detonation, which scientists describe as adaptive behavior. Everyone else describes as the emergency blimp cancellation protocol. Researchers have noticed something interesting. The BFJ possesses massive gas bladders. The BFJ can focus on objects above the water. The BFJ appears to be waiting for a transformation. The Hycean possesses all of those features. Completed. More research is required, but many scientists suspect the BFJ may represent an earlier stage in the Hycean's life cycle, meaning one day, the giant jelly sitting quietly on the seabed may simply decide it has had enough of the ocean and leave. Earth jellies evolved simplicity. Proteus evolved ambition. A glowing volcano-powered donut. A weaponized electric philosopher. A giant draft version of a creature. And a hydrogen-filled explosive predator. Together, they reveal a troubling truth about life on Proteus. Life here does not climb the evolutionary ladder. It grabs the ladder, gives it a shake, and becomes so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.